What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. The Ham Radio Crash Course. Thanks for joining us here today. I've got 40 meters going on in the background. Whoo, buddy. It is active. Let's turn that down. If you got 40 available to you, you're going to have a nice evening. In fact, we may try to work some 40 tonight, since the bands look pretty good on the Discord after chat. So if you're interested in that, make sure you take the link in the description or one of the links posted by the helpful admins in the chat. We do a Discord live after chat after the stream, and we talk about all kinds of amateur radio stuff, among other things. So make sure you check that out. Very, very cool. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we're going to talk about emergency preparedness. This is the Patron Picks episode. I'll go ahead and get rid of my music there and pull over. I'm using Streamlabs OBS today, so it's a little bit different. The chat room kind of lags in for some reason. I don't understand what that's all about, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out. So yeah, we're going to talk about emergency preparedness. This is the Patron Picks episode. If you're interested in picking the first stream of every month, check out Patreon. There's lots of different options available there, but at the very least, $1 gets you the newsletter, which I post every month, and that should be hopefully going out this weekend. At least that's the plan. So on the news here, I got a couple of things to talk about. First, obviously, we're still doing the 73,000 giveaways, subscriber giveaway, and for that, we'll be doing a G90, a Shegu G90 radio giveaway, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we'll have a live stream to go along with that, where we'll be giving away some Beme antennas. I've got a major radio company providing some swag, so that's going to be lots of fun. And some other cool things. So make sure you go check out that giveaway. Make sure you're following us. Hit subscribe and click that bell so that we can talk about, you catch up on everything I post. All right. So the news for this is all going to be California-centric because there's a lot of things going on actually in California. The California QSO party is this weekend. It is April 5th, 1600 UTC through Sunday, 2200 UTC. And the exchange is pretty easy. You're just going to work for the out-of-state letter or out-of-state folks. You're just going to make the exchange with a number for your QSOs, so just keep adding up as you go. And you use the 2-letter state abbreviation. And then there's a California contacts. If it's internal to California, it's going to be your QSO number and your 4-letter county abbreviation. In my case, I'm in Los Angeles, so I would use LAAN, I believe, is the abbreviation. There's also a Ham Fest in San Diego, but I don't have all the details for it. So if you're interested in that, look up Ham Radio Ham Fest San Diego, and it's this week, so right on. A Firearm Freak says, bro, I'm in Long Beach. Right on. I am in Cerritos, California. Yeah. Very good, very good. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We'll go right into the talk, and then we can get back to some live call-in. So for anybody interested, you can call in a little while, and we'll take your questions or your comments. Who do we got in the chat? We got a lot of people in the chat. I saw Ham Radio 2.0. We got K8MRD Stuff. We saw Bob, I think K6UDA. Somebody mentioned him. Got Hello from Massachusetts, Rob Riggs. I'm in Syria, Michael Root. That's awesome. Right on. We got a lot of people. Last night, I did a preemptive live stream last night, and you're not gonna be able to see this because it's my green screen, but I'll show this off later. Did a live stream building the QRP guys NFED antenna, which I'm gonna take on our soda hike that we're gonna do November 9th and 10th. We are doing a backpack overnighter for anyone interested. We've got people flying in to go to this right now. At least 2 people, one person from the Ham Radio Crash Course, and another person who I will name at a later date. If they want to, they can say in the chat if they're interested. Otherwise, we'll do an introduction. It could be a fun surprise. But yeah, pretty cool. Thomas Terry asks, are you going to be on Modern Rogue again anytime soon? I'd love to see a data over ham demo. Well, we kind of did data over ham, right? That was WinLink, right? That is data. That's email. But yes, that is, I am planning to do that. I got to figure out a good time to break away from the family or take the family with me to go back to Austin again. And the guys over at Modern Rogue have already kind of talked to me about it. I can't wait to see their new building, so I'm very excited about that. So anyway, somebody reminded me, beer. Yes, so it's actually my anniversary today. So instead of going on an anniversary date, I'm here with you guys. So give a big shout out to the YL, my wife Leia. I have the Audaciter from Trader Joe's. This is a great, if you got a Trader Joe's in the area, this is a really good beer. Trader Joe's uses Unibrow, is a Canadian brewery. They're in Quebec, and they make all kinds of different beers for them, and they're really quite solid, and they're not very expensive. So this is a nice solid beer that my wife bought for me in kind of mini celebration for our anniversary. We'll go on a date another time. She knows the stream is a little bit important. Talking to you guys is pretty important. Right on. So that is a bit heady. We'll let that sit a second. We have TJ's here. Oh, yeah, Ham Radio 2.0. It's a nice, inexpensive beer. They've got a couple of them. I like their holiday ale, too, if you can find that. So, right on. My wife is not blonde. That is true. Raspberry Pi weather station. That's a good question. Cable TV Cutter says, can you build a Raspberry Pi weather station video? Yeah, I can build a video. I can do that for sure. Joe Wilson says, Josh, I am still designing an antenna for 5 different bands. That's awesome. Your Pyrovision says, your anniversary and my birthday. I believe it is also Ham Radio Concepts' birthday today. So apparently my anniversary matches with it. Oh, Logic 44. Do USB ferrites work without winding the cable around them? I'll be in after chat and will probably call in. It's working! Our new... it's working. That is that is Ethan's dog, basically, is what I'm naming it. The new one of the new mascots of the channel. So ferrites, how do they work? Yeah. The ferrite bead, you wrap the wire around it, and every time you wrap it, you add a dB nullification to it. So the more wraps you get, the more effectively you're nulling the RF. So you can just run it right through and just have it flopping around, but you don't want to do that. You want to put as many wraps on your ferrite as possible. So, all right, that's the nerdy stuff. We'll go ahead and dive into the slides right now. And if you want to talk technical stuff, come on over to the Discord after chat. Yeah, I just saw the bot and I turned it on. I was like, what the hell? Let's see. That is very Twitch of me. I appreciate that. But all right, so what are we talking about today? Using ham radio in an emergency. This is a follow-on from last week's video where we talked about ham radio operators saving lives. So how did they do it? How did that all come about? You know, why were they successful? What do you need if you want to prepare to potentially save a life? So be on the air. That's kind of the big thing. To save a life or be effective in an emergency, you're going to need to be on the air. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Be on the air, at least to start. So small emergencies, a bit of what we talked about last week were small emergencies. Somebody getting hurt in the wilderness, somebody with a radio happening upon them, calling for help, or someone in a more powerful station, being away from where the emergency happened, being able to contact with that person, effectively using another mode of communication like a cell phone to call 911, and then was able to get people rescued. And then we had a guy who got himself kind of stuck, used his radio to call for help, and was able to effectively allow his own rescue to take place by calling for his own help and kind of evacuation. So what do you need? You need to be on the air. Small emergencies. In most situations, the ham radio will save the person or individuals, right, in its own kind of local range, I would call it. In the field, most everything, as we talked about, was generally VHF and UHF. We will talk a little bit more about HF towards the end of the slide package here, but primarily VHF, UHF are the major things. So you need to have that kind of squared away. In the field, right, if you're out and about, you're going to want to have an HT. It needs to be properly programmed, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means, but effectively it's simplex frequencies loaded for the bands that the radio can operate on, right? 2 meters, 70 centimeters being the most prominent. Then you need effective repeaters programmed into that radio, right? Effective repeaters, we'll talk about that too in a second. And optional extra credit, if you have GPS or APRS, that's going to be really, really helpful as well. and then access to other comms. Last week we talked about an amateur radio operator who used their amateur radio that was modified for all bands to talk to a CB operator who had gotten himself stuck. It was a 12-hour rescue just to get them out. 12 hours talking on a CB through an amateur radio. They were still able to save those people's lives. So if you have the ability to have an FRS radio, something like that on your person, it will be effective. So I'm going to show you really quick here. This is some of my stuff that I have taken in the field or have used at home. The FRS radios are these guys. This is a really simple Uniden model. The Redivis RT45, which I have reviewed in the past. My tiny, tiny Baofeng, which was on my MCOM episode 1, that little fake emergency scenario I did. This is a great unit. I get emails all the time, where do you get these? I don't know, man. I don't know where you get them anymore. They're really, really hard to find. Of course, the Baofeng BF F8 HP, which, you know, I'll take a point and talk about this really quickly. You know, we're going through a lot of stuff. We obviously passed September 30th, and these guys weren't banned, but a lot of people thought they were, and so people went out and bought these. And before that, in October of last year, the FCC came out basically saying if you're an amateur radio operator and you have a radio like this, you can't have it programmed outside of the amateur radio space. The last point that I did on the slide was basically saying access to other comms. One of the reasons why people like these so much is that you can program them with the FRS, GMRS, the NOAA frequencies to get weather information in, and that seems like an asset to me. I think that's valuable. But technically, it's not legal in the eyes of the FCC. So just make sure that now that you have your Baofeng, right, and you're having fun with it, you're becoming learned in how to use it, that you keep in mind when you have that really stout programming, it's possibly not legal. But, you know, the FCC has said they're not really going after people or policing it. But I need to be responsible and tell you, you know, you've got to be careful, right? Got to be careful. So I got about 253 people in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Woo, that's tarter than I expected. I didn't remember it being that tart. It's kind of sweet. And then, of course, my Yaesu, which is my predominant carry radio out in the field. The Yaesu FT2DR, primarily because it has GPS and APRS. With GPS and APRS, I can give my precise location. I can use its digital capability to text my wife, email my wife, and even post a tweet. Get into a Twitter argument right through your radio. I think a lot of people could use that capability. You're never away from a Twitter fight, even if you have no cell reception. That's a good way to look at it. So in the shack and in the field, use the wilderness protocol. Now, I just talked about HTs, but really quickly for mobiles, mobile radios are great. I'm a big fan of mobile radios. I think everybody should think about upgrading to a mobile in their car and at home. At home, you can get a nice 50-watt mobile, get a nice antenna on your roof, and you're going to do amazing. You'll be very capable in simplex, particularly if you have a really nice tall antenna, get it high up off the ground. But it's going to do a lot better than an HT. So just keep that in mind. 50 watts versus 5 watts, you can do the math. Whoop, too fast. Okay, so the wilderness protocol. This is the first thing that, you know, we got to keep this in mind. We got to learn it. There's some videos out there. K6UDA did one. W6 RIP. Jason Siebert says, but Josh, your car is broken. They're fixing it. They're in the process of fixing my car right now. So I'm without HF Mobile, which bums me out big time, but we'll get her fixed. So wilderness protocol. Every 3 hours, starting at about 7 a.m., turn on your radio and listen for 5 minutes on any given simplex frequency that you're capable of working on. Going back to that Baofeng, right? You got two receive channels. Turn one on 70 centimeter and the other on 2 meter. And you can listen on both sides. You're going to listen for 5 minutes at 7 a.m. And then every 3 hours, so 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you know, turn that radio on again, listen for 5 minutes, turn it off. And is it 4 hours or 3 hours? Well, did I screw that up? Did I put 3 hours instead of 4? I thought it was 7 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, then 1 o'clock. Wasn't it? Did I screw up? Or was it 3 o'clock? Was it noon and then 3 o'clock? Well, do it every hour. 3 hours. Okay. So we're good. Did I say 4 or 3? What did I say? 3 hours. 7, 11, 2. That doesn't add up. Oh. No, you're right. My math is wrong. No, you're right. 7 a.m., so it would be 11. Oh, boy. 11 and then 2. Hey, before I started this stream, my kid put paint all over himself. And my wife was gone. So thanks for bearing with me while I get the cobwebs out of my brain. So anyway, okay, every 3 hours starting at 7, you can add 3 to 7, right? Does that work? No, it doesn't work. Is it 4 hours then? It's 4 hours. 12, 3, 6, 9. We'll come back to that. Well, look up the link for Wilderness Protocol. But basically, you need to be on the simplex frequencies. 6 meter, 2 meter, 1.25, and 70 centimeters. And those are the frequencies you want to use. Those are the frequencies that you should have programmed on your radio. Mine is always on 2 meter and 70 centimeter in the first 2 memory channels on my radio. Every time I turn it on, I've got 2 meters, 70 centimeters on that HT, and I likely keep it on there as I am walking around. So 3 hours, John Paps, and I've got K8 MRD stuff behind me, so I'm saying I got it right. 3. So yeah, that's 7, 10, 1, 16, 19. You got it. Thank you. See, that's what happens when you're doing slides and you're reading the chat. So in most situations where a ham helps to save a person, individual, whatnot. Wait, did I go the wrong way? Yes, I did. So here is a map of my QTH. The green area is my home right here. And everywhere in red is areas where I have successfully made contacts or have been picked up and, soda activators, whatnot. This is a really good example of why having a mobile radio is really important and why doing Wilderness Protocol is really good from your home TH. At my home, I have a power supply that's connected to a mobile radio. It's never off. It's on. I listen when I'm around during the Wilderness Protocol hours. Sometimes I'll drop a call, say, hey, KI6NAZ listening on Wilderness Protocol frequencies or listening on Simplex for Wilderness Protocol traffic. And so this is a really good way to kind of model that. And this is just from my antenna on my roof. I can reach out to all these locations. I've reached all the way down to San Diego, right? So having an HT listening is great, but having a mobile 50-watt radio is even better at home or in your car. So keep that in mind. So be prepared with good repeaters, right? So we've got an interesting time in amateur radio, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen Bob's email, and Bob is in the chat. We'll probably hear more about that in the future, but we're in an interesting time where there are lots of repeaters seemingly around the areas that you live in. There are cheap repeaters available on the market, and sometimes they're just dead. They're just super quiet. You get these really active repeaters like we have down in Southern California, but then there's a whole lot of other repeaters that just aren't very populated. So what I like to do, and there's a myriad of ways to program your radio. I have a ton of videos on programming your radio, but you have things like Radio Reference, Repeater Book. These are all websites that have repeater frequencies, the tones, everything dialed in for programming your radio. But let's say you go through the process. You load up all 124, 25 memory channels on your Baofeng, and you start scanning. Hit that scan button. Scanning begin. You're going through it, and you're like not hearing anything. You got to do it often, right? But as you're listening, if there's some repeaters, some memory channels that just are dead, think about culling them. Think about removing the repeaters that are not being used. Free up a little bit of memory spots. Keep that in mind. And then every once in a while, periodically go back and see if there's new repeaters in your area. Stuff you didn't have before. And don't forget digital. Now, I know not everybody has a digital radio, like a DMR radio, like a Anytone, right? Like an Anytone 878. But they're really good to have on hand as we start migrating to more and more digital repeaters. I got a couple of emails recently and comments on Instagram. People saying, "Oh, there's no point of having DMR in an emergency. That's all internet based. That's all internet related stuff, and that's going to go down when there's an emergency." Well, the only part that's going to go down is that internet connection. It's still a fully functioning repeater. It's just a digital repeater. So your, same effect. If you go back up to here, if I had a repeater out here right on this little hill. And it's a DMR repeater, well, that may be linked all over the world, right, via the internet. But if the internet goes down, well, it's just effectively back to being a DMR repeater that's local only, right? So you still get that coverage, that big fat coverage of your immediate area, which in an emergency, that's exactly what you want, right? Okay. So that's your local stuff, right? You got to have the comms in place. Your local emergencies are going to be similar to your larger emergencies when you start talking about the equipment you need, right? But if there is an emergency of a large size, some kind of disaster, a big hurricane, for example, like in Puerto Rico, where we talked about last year, or what's going on in the Caribbean, then you're most likely going to be effective in helping out not just immediate issues, but larger communication issues. For that, you're going to need to make sure that you're protecting your equipment, right? If there is a hurricane that comes and knocks down the antennas, you're going to need to put those back up, possibly even take your antennas down before the hurricane, put them back up after. But I'll say this right up front. If it's just a local small emergency, you're probably fine just working out the details directly with the party that's hurt or injured or the person that's first responding and the emergency coordinator, 911, whatever. But when it starts getting bigger, you start having more impacted people, like in a town, in a larger community, then you're going to kind of need to coordinate. And this is where you're kind of going to have to step outside your comfort zone a bit, get some training, possibly join an emergency response communication group like ARES, like RACES, CERT in some capacities, Sheriff's Auxiliary, you get the idea. So I'll say this right up front. There's a couple of really good classes. FEMA, 100, 700, 242 is kind of an ancillary optional thing. And then the ARRL has emergency communications training. They're going to be helpful for building, again, training that you're going to need when you're working with a larger community of first responders or some emergency support people as it gets trying to sort out the chaos of the emergency. So I'm saying that right up front. These slides will all be posted on Patreon. It'll be open. It'll be an open public post, so you can get those links. So don't worry about that. Just go check out the link to Patreon below. Maybe mark it. You don't have to join or anything. Just keep an eye out because I will be posting them after the video tonight. So at some point, there will be a command structure that comes about. And again, that command structure is discussed in IS 100. So make sure you take that class at least, because that's going to give you a lot of background and understanding. But there'll be a command structure that takes form, and there will be local frequencies for taking information. Largely what that probably will end up being is a repeater of some kind. Just like we learned about in Puerto Rico, they were able to set up linked repeaters that went across the country, right? Or, yeah, across the country. Does that count? No, the state or whatever. Across the island, let's say that. And that allowed them to basically send traffic. And what that formally looks like is there's a net controller. And that net controller basically will take traffic coming in, people who want to give an issue, want to say they have a traffic problem or something's they're badly damaged or there's someone that needs a emergency response. Again, no cell phones. That net coordinator will take that information and pass it on to the appropriate people. Or that net controller will take that information, call someone else on the net who may be able to facilitate the repair or the extraction of the hurt individual, whatever. So the net controller is kind of like the boss, right, at any one time. And a really, really good thing to remember is write all this stuff down. I don't know what it is. At least it's my happens to me. Whenever I get on the radio and I start talking, I'll want to just kind of just talk, right? Just rag chew, whatever. But what you got to do is write that information down so that you can follow your script and whatever it is you need to say. Now, I didn't include them. There are a whole stack of forms that different agencies use so that they have a uniform process of information. And that's like the person's name, where they're located, the time of the event, different factors that, go look them up. Or if you're thinking about joining Aries, they'll have their own forms. Races has their own forms, whatever. There is some interoperability there, but keep that in mind. And a great way to practice working a net is get on a net. Find a local VHF, UHF net, likely ran on a repeater. Those are great to start. Find a club that has a repeater that runs nets. And then there's always the nets we run Thursday night on the Ham Radio Crash Course. We coordinate that through Discord. And we use almost any kind of radio. I don't know that we have interoperability with D-Star right now, but we have WiresX, EAC System Fusion, and DMR all working together. And basically, that's a great way because we've got a net control operator. It's usually loyal. There's some other people who sometimes fill in for him, and he runs the net just like you would potentially do an emergency. I know there's a lot different details that you're going to cover there and information, but you get the idea. I did it again. There we go. So if you're interested in joining Aries, the best way to do it is contact your local section leader. I posted the link there. Again, these slides will be on Patreon after the live stream. Races is ran through your civil defense. If you don't have a civil defense local to your area, then you may not have a Races local to your area. So make sure to look that up, figure that out on your own there. CERT is usually through your city, through the city hall or the sheriff's station. I'm a member of CERT. They have fairly unorganized communications in CERT. So I just put that out there to be like, hey, keep that in mind. I think CERT's a good thing for all the other preparedness items. It's good for most non-emergency minded people to take CERT. I think it's important. So we're going to have a quick section on comms interoperability. I call it the reason to buy more radios. What I mean by comms interoperability, like was said earlier, you have that instance where the CB operator was communicating with the amateur radio operator. That was all band modified to allow that communication to go through. Well, that's great. That's a nice radio setup for doing. Let's see. CERT in Allen is through the fire chief. Yeah. So also CERT can be through your fire department, your local fire community. But most of the coordination I've seen, at least in my area and the cities around me, is through the city hall. But your mileage will vary. I think the city will know, though, if you contact them. So comms interoperability is basically your ability. Again, I'll go back to the desktop here. Your ability to take information from one radio type and put it out on another radio type. Incoming CB, outgoing amateur radio, or vice versa. So if you're receiving on, say, a weather radio, right? You know a storm's coming up. You got to be prepared for that. You get on your HT on that repeater and provide that information to the group. That's interoperability of comms. If you have a FRS radio and you pick up a call from somebody in the neighborhood who power's out and they have a oxygen tank refilling device that sucks oxygen out of the air and pushes it into a tank, well, they're not going to be able to run that without power, right? So they find somebody with a radio, call for help. Well, you're not necessarily going to facilitate handling that emergency with that FRS radio, right? Because it's probably not strong enough to be able to get out. It's great for tactical comms, as I call it, and local neighborhood stuff, a mile out maybe at best. But then you're going to need to hop on the amateur radio to be able to facilitate them getting power, getting helped out, all that. Chris C., wife laughed at the slide title, Radio Fund. Radio Fund plus plus. Indeed. Oh no, where's my duder's not there? Huh. I don't know what's going on. My little dogger. Where's my dogger? I wanted to see the dog. It's right there. Wasn't it running? It'll probably pop up in a second. Yeah. Oh, there it is. There's Ethan's dog. If I can figure out how to make a tricolor corgi, I'll put Charlotte, my dog, on there too. I like that it says the post too. That's hilarious. So yeah, wife funds helping you. It's not that you're just blowing money. You're being prepared for an emergency, because there are a lot of these radios out there. Believe it or not, there are. And those that will have the wherewithal to keep them powered, they're going to be using these, but they're honestly probably not going to have much radio discipline on how to use them. They're going to be difficult to communicate with, and being able to separate that out, have them talk on one radio with FRS and have you on the amateur radio side trying to help them, is going to be a lot easier, meaning you're talking to them with your FRS radio and you're asking for someone to help them with the amateur radio. Into the repeater, talking to the net controller, right? These are all what you would do. Hey, Julian just stopped in. Hey, OH8STN. Thanks, Julian, for coming by. I appreciate that. Julian is a big mobile man pack emergency radio preparedness channel here on YouTube. So if you're not already following him, check him out. I've got to build a battery pack like Julian one day. I want to have my charge controller and my battery pack all together. I know he has a video on that, so I've got to go watch it. I've got to go look at it. So I also think that mobile radios, right? I already mentioned it. Mobile radios are going to allow you to get out further, particularly on simplex. You're going to be able to help out more people. You can work repeaters no problem with an HT, but mobile radios are where it's at when you want to be helping out with simplex. So keep that in mind. And let's see. SDR dongle. So I put... Oh, let me go back. I'm not done, I guess. The SDR Play is what I have here. I have this here for a couple of reasons. If you're in the shack and you're working, right, with an SDR, you can receive just about anything. And the only thing you're kind of not able to do is whatever software you don't have loaded at the time. You'll be able to use it as a makeshift scanner. You'll be able to work digital or receive digital with it. You'll be able to listen to all the bands simultaneously, and you'll be able to see where activity is. There's nothing like having a waterfall screen on a computer or a radio to give you a very clear understanding of what's going on the bands at any one time. SDRs are beautiful for that. So if you have the capability, when in an emergency, just like you would any other time, to have an SDR, that is a great way to go. I've got a couple of videos on SDRs, and obviously the 7300 is an SDR. So I greatly, greatly, greatly recommend getting an SDR. And a lot of them are cheap, right? The new Elec that I have linked in my Amazon store, link is in the description, is a good one to get started with, particularly because we're mainly just talking about VHF, UHF right now, and they're great for that. So the one, I'll cover this quickly because I think I have never really given it enough time to really work through it. All-in-one radios. So far, you just saw my table is just full of radios, right? Handhelds, FRS radios. I've got a lot of radios. I am not generally a fan of all-in-one radios. I think they have their place. I think if they get you on the air and they get you started with amateur radio, that's great. If you don't have a lot of space, that's awesome. I appreciate that. It's a good place to start. Matt, 20% tip based on the 15 I paid to the VE. Right on. I appreciate that, Matt. Where's my dog? Play my dog. The all-in-one radios, though, don't do some of the things I require for my emergency preparations and just operating a radio in general. If you took something like an 857 or a 991A, both of these are Yaesu radios, or a ICOM 7200, I believe is the other example. They're great radios, but you can't work both an A and a B, VHF, UHF side, and also HF at the same time. They generally have like one receiver, one transmitted receiver at a time, and you can't switch back and forth. The 857 being the prime example of that. So I'm a big fan of having a separate radio, dual channel, VHF, UHF radio that will work for that specific purpose. And then if you want HF, you have a separate radio for HF. So you can have all of it happening at once. I know it's a lot going on, but when you're in an emergency, you don't want to turn off the spigot of information just to turn on the spigot over here. Why not have both of them on? They're a bit heavier, right? Because you now have redundancy, duplicates, but I think it's a better way to go. plus less downtime with equipment failures. So if you have an antenna connector break on one of your radios, these all-in-ones, or some part of it break, you've lost all your comms, not just half your comms or a third of your comms. You've lost it all. So I appreciate them. Again, get you on the air. That's great. I think that's important, but keep that in mind that we don't want to lose comms completely. All right. Here's the brief slides on HF because, frankly, I'll cover it. But in most situations, emergency contacts are going to be close in. They're going to be VHF, UHF. They're going to be on repeaters, and that's what's going to happen. The backbone of your system, particularly when you're talking about MCOMs, right? And I will make a subtle distinction here. You're talking about trying to help someone out in the field get help, or help the people around you during an emergency and coordinate emergency traffic, coordinate effectively repairing society around you. You're going to be using VHF, UHF for most of that. There are a couple of caveats, though, and I'll list them here. Traffic in and out of a disaster area. Think Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, anywhere where you have a dead zone and you want to get information out and you want to get information in from a mainland or somewhere a bit further away from the disaster area, you're going to want HF for that. You're going to want that reflection of HF over the atmosphere that VHF, UHF can't provide. Very important. We talked about that last week. And then, of course, there's NVIS. NVIS is a very fancy way of saying it is near vertical incidence skywave NVIS, and that is basically where you send your signals mostly up, straight up into the atmosphere, and they come down at a bit wider footprint. So you get a really nice footprint around you, strong footprint, where you can effectively make communications that way. The problem with NVIS is that you're going to need a NVIS antenna. Generally, you can do it with a dipole, right? Horizontal dipole. You just need to lower it below 1/4 wavelength of whatever band you're operating on. If you're on 80 meters, really easy to work NVIS, just lower that dipole way down. They make special NVIS antennas for 80 and 40, and I know 80 is something that a lot of emergency groups use, like Aries, and particularly they use it for data traffic like WinLink. WinLink being the email system I demonstrated on the Modern Rogue and have made a couple videos on my channel. So if you go to my channel, just search WinLink, all one word, then you'll see a little bit more about WinLink and NVIS. So that's my thoughts on HF. But I think it's important. HF's a lot of fun. And likely if you run an HF station, you're probably a decent enough person, you can probably get a VHF station up and running. So good stuff. And also you'll understand a little bit more about the effect of radio and stuff like that. But so what was the, I missed it. Keep it all running. Yeah. So if you assume that we're not talking about a short-term emergency, we're talking about a long-term emergency. Long-term emergencies, you're going to be without infrastructure. The CERT training classes, all the follow-on CERT training classes, all recommend plan for at least 11 days without infrastructure. Water, gas, power, you're on your own. So for short durations, batteries work. Your car works. You can run your radio off your car, good to go. However, in a full grid down event, which again happens, I was in Southern California during the 87 earthquake, and it took out everything. It took out gas, power. Northridge obviously took out gas, took out power, literally took out gas. They severed the lines. They had to shut the gas off, or else you blow up houses. And motorhomes in particular, mobile homes in particular, are very dangerous after an earthquake because those lines that they run are not well done there. And they break really easily. So when it's grid down, you're going to basically need to run off of some alternative means of power. Solar is a good place to go if you have sun, lots of sun, if you're in the right time of the season. Colorado, a lot of sun. California, Southern California, a lot of sun. Then you got to think, is this a permanent installation, permanent install, something on your roof? Versus a man-pack portable installation, something that you're going to need to put in your car, something you need to put on your back. These are all things you want to consider. And these are things you should practice with, too. We'll talk about that. So solar panel. You need a panel. I like the 100 watt 12 volt Renogy. This is a monocrystalline panel. That's actually the one I have right there, and I used it during field day. I used it multiple times when out in my backyard, or I still haven't got it on the roof. I've got to figure out how to mount that thing. That's one thing I really need to do, is the mounts that you use to mount it. You got to do that right, or else you'll screw up your roof and all the shingles. But I'll put it above the garage. That way we don't care as much. This is a solar panel that you would use in a permanent installation on your roof. This isn't a portable panel per se. Or if you have a van, it would go on top of your car, your van or whatever, and that would work pretty well. Unless you take like a rock to it, and then you're kind of screwed. There was a comment in the chat. OH8STN, which is again Julian, likes JS8 call for comms. I think it's necessary for grid down. Non-solar repeaters will stop working. Yes, so I want to be specific about JS8 call and HF. So again, the videos that Julian puts out on JS8 call, he's going for longer distance communications, right? He's trying to make more than 100 kilometers, something like that, communication. And that's like to let people know that he's okay, right? He's out in the field, everything's fine, etc. If you wanted to be able to work within your city, right, in HF, you're going to need an NVIS antenna to go up and then down. And if you're working in your city, one of the most effective things to have is WinLink for exchanging emails. And the reason they use WinLink is, remember those forums I mentioned earlier for exchanging traffic? Well, you can just type on a computer on those forums and email it via HF. Boom. Type, boom. Type, boom. That's one of the reasons a lot of these emergency groups uses WinLink. I like JS8 call. JS8 call's fun. I agree. It's a good setup for emergency comms, grid down comms. I'm not going to say, though, that emergency groups are using them, because they're not right now. They're using WinLink in general. So just keep that in mind. JS8 call has a nice feature where you can actually use like a mesh type communication system where you can hop your comms through multiple stations to get to another station. That's very handy. Cable TV cutters ask EMP, what happens then? We all resort to cannibalism. No, I made a video about EMP, and if you want to go check that out, you can. I won't get into a lot of information on that because I think I covered it to some detail. But basically, I think EMP is a bit overblown in the concern people have over it. Yes, it will likely take things out. No, it won't take out everything. You need a charge controller. The one that I show here is not necessarily a recommended one. I don't think it's the best at what it does, but it's cheap and it works. I've used it. I have 3 charge controllers. This one works fine. The only downside with this one is I believe it is not lithium ion acceptable. So you're going to want to use sealed lead acid batteries, AGM batteries, deep cycle marine batteries. All those batteries are great when you are at home. A really good deep cycle golf cart battery, for example, get a bunch of those, gang them together. Great. They work awesome. Work great with your charge controller and your solar setup. However, if you want to work out in the field, then you are likely going to need lithium ion. This thing's freaking me out. I don't know why. Get it over here. Feels like it's sneaking up on me. Lithium ion is going to be much lighter. The same amp hour capacity on a lithium ion is going to weigh considerably less than lithium ion. Considerably more than lithium ion. Lithium ion also has a better dissipation power, basically. You can run lithium ion and keep a really solid power output until close to the point that you would be damaging the battery and need to stop. Not so with sealed lead acid and AGM and other batteries such as that type. So if you have the money, lithium ion is a really good place to go, but they are very expensive. Very expensive. Michael Johnson says, I have a Dakota lithium 10 amp battery for field use. Very pleased with it so far. 1 second. So I have done a video on Dakota lithium. This is it right here. This is the battery I used for Field Day 2018 with my 7300, running 100 watts output, full power, simple 10 amp hour battery into a charge controller, into that solar panel. The Renergy works great. Very low weight, under 5 pounds. Would not, this is too big, I wouldn't take it into the field, but absolutely a good choice is the Dakota lithium batteries. Also, they're well priced. I believe this is $100 to $120. Fantastic price for the money. So if you're man pack portable, you still need a charge controller, you still need a battery, but you're better off going with a flexible or foldable solar panel system. This is a 90 watt or 60 watt panel, I believe. Quick little demonstration. That Renergy panel is about $100 for 100 watt 12 volt. This is I believe 60 watt. And it is $250 to $300, right? Dom, thanks. Discharge curve. Thank you for that. So you start looking at lithium ions, expensive. You start looking at folding solar panels, expensive. Plus, I believe pound for pound, ounce for ounce, they're not as efficient as the monocrystalline panels like the Renergies, but they're portable and they fit in a backpack and they're easy to carry. And you're still going to be able to operate with them no problem at 100 watts. I like that comment. What was it? Goom Bakawi. I got an 8-year-old, a 50-pound bag of sugar, and a giant hamster wheel linked to a generator. You know, you can link it to an alternator. An alternator, hook a hamster wheel to an alternator. Load up the kid with sugar. Ask me how I know. That's going to be my preferred comms power solution. No, of course not. It's generators. I think solar panels are great. I recommend solar panels. But if you happen to be in an area, like I mentioned, bad weather, it's at night, you may have to use a generator. I would... did I screw up the... Anyway. I recommend the inverter-style generators. The traditional style generators use what's called a stator motor, and that stator motor will put out RFI, and anything you connect to it, you're going to potentially get RFI along that power cord. You're basically creating an antenna, right, on the wire. So an inverter type is going to be preferred. It's going to create less RFI. It's going to cause less problems when you connect it to sensitive electronics like laptops and radios and the whole 9 yards. Plus, an inverter is more of a clean power. I don't know what you would. Dom will straighten out the word that I'm looking for, but your power distribution is going to be more even, versus a stator is going to be more sawtoothed in the power. It's going to be kind of off on, off on, off on. There's much better terms for what I'm saying, but this is a bit of a high level course, so. Chris C asked a great question. So I own the EF2000. I have a video on it out there on YouTube that I made years and years ago. I find the EF2000 is a much better generator than the Honda. Now, Honda may have upgraded their generators since I bought that EF2000 years and years ago. But a couple of things that the Yamaha has that the Honda does not. It has a fuel gauge indicator without having to open the cap. The Honda didn't at the time. It has a fuel petcock right there on the front panel for the carburetor, so you can turn off the flow of fuel to the carburetor, run the generator down, and then you basically prevent the generator or the carburetor from gunking up. Huge. Otherwise, you've got to do this weird pour out thing and drain the carburetors when you want to like winterize it. Yeah, Dom got it. Sine wave versus coarse. Chris C got it. See, this is why I've got these admins. These guys are smart. So the Yamaha just has more luxury features that I like that the Honda, at least at the time that I purchased it, does not. Pro tip, this little silver thing right here is a ground connection. If you put a ground rod into the ground, kind of by this thing or wherever your antenna might be, good idea to connect that up. Rob Shatterfield says, I have the Honda. I abuse it and it keeps on running. Have never drained or serviced it in 20 years or 10 years. You've never changed the oil? Really? Huh. Okay. Anyway, that's fine. I'm just saying there are features that the Yamaha has that I believe the Honda doesn't. So that is my recommendation. So here's some do's and don'ts. And we got about a little over 10 minutes left. So we'll hit these up and then we'll open the call lines if anybody wants to call in. Do's. Keep your radios on, at least long enough to do wilderness protocol, right? And keep them powered and programmed. So what I mean with that is, obviously use your radios, but when they're not being used, make sure you plug it into a cradle, right? You've got a cradle or you've got some way to charge the radio appropriately and keep them working. Practice the wilderness protocol techniques. Practicing the techniques is as simple as maybe setting an alarm on your phone and listening in for 5 minutes, particularly if you are working close to a forest, a national park, whatever. Perfect time for that. Take training. Take that training that I linked. Again, the links for the slides will be in the description. They'll be on my Patreon. The link is to the video here. Think about joining Aries, CERN, or RACES, or find a club that's affiliated with either or that has a repeater, something that they work a standing net so that you keep those skills up on how to use radio in an emergency. Think about fixed location setups. Do think about fixed location setups. This often goes hand in hand with better antennas and power options. So if you start thinking about building out your house for radio, you're likely going to put a better antenna on the roof. You're likely going to have a 50-watt radio. You're going to have a much better situation. You're going to be more effective with that type of setup. On my roof, I have a 17-foot ground plane antenna that works 70 centimeter and 2 meters. Works great. And I've made comms all the way down to San Diego with very little effort. I recommend to fold the communications into your prepping. You still need food, you still need water, you need first aid, etc. But I think you start thinking about adding communications in. I know we just went through what I would call a pretty panic buying situation with Baofangs. I don't believe that the panic was justified, but I am glad now that at least you have them. It's time to get programmed, get trained up a bit, just like you would with firearms or anything else. Add that to your preps, add that to your plans of what you're planning on doing in the next couple of months, is get familiar with the radios, maybe get involved, find a club, find some nets, get on the air and use them. Now, I would also say save up for some higher quality gear. Case in point, again, pointing out the FT2DR, GPS, and has APRS. Again, this is like digital text messaging through your radio. That is very, very powerful, very, very effective, particularly in an emergency. Create a list of known frequencies for services like fire, police, and public works in your area. Again, radio reference, repeater book, they're all going to have local frequencies that you would be able to work with your VHF, UHF radio from home or out in the field. However you want to do it, if you want to use Google Drive, export that stuff out, print it out, maybe laminate it, put it with the radio, right? If you have, think about it this way. If you had a credit card size little laminated piece of paper, you can slap that in the back of your radio, tape it on there, whatever, and then that can live with that radio. If you got a box that you put it in, you carry it around with, maybe think about putting that in there. Really good to have. And assume you're going to be on your own, right? If there is truly an emergency, assume that you are on your own. You've got to take care of yourself, your family, your local community. So redundancy is a good idea to keep in mind. If you're going to be the only person in your area or there's only a couple of you, consider having some redundant systems. Consider having some more FRS radios. Again, these guys are cheap, and you can give these to people. Give them the ones with the AAA batteries like this one has. Give them a solar charger, or maybe they've got to find their own batteries. I don't know. And have them use these guys, right? Have a couple of them. Good idea. All right, don'ts. Don't self-deploy. And for those that are unfamiliar with this term, basically what that means is If you live in Southern California and there's a wildfire that's happening in middle to Northern California and you think I can help out, don't go. If at least anything, work with the emergency communications groups like ARES, RACES first before self-deploying. The reason is it's not a coordinated effort. People don't know you're coming. They don't know what you're capable of. You likely might not be trained on the systems or how they communicate. So definitely be careful with that one. Please don't self-deploy. George Jones, DEW1LQA, formerly KC1LQA. Oh, congratulations, got his extra. Here's a celebratory donation for getting my vanity call. Oh, wait, that could be a 1x3. That could be a general, right? Yeah. So anyway, don't self-deploy. Don't neglect your batteries. This is a big one. Particularly with some of my HF batteries, my SLAs, my lithium ions. I like to cycle them and keep them topped off with a trickle charger. I use one of those battery tender trickle chargers. Keep those powered up as often, right? Throughout your week, right? Rotate your batteries. The reason is you don't know when a disaster is going to strike. You really don't. And unless you have a solar system set up already that's doing the work for you to keep them topped off, you got to make sure you do it. Also, when you've got an HT and it's charging, there's two ways that they could be charging. One, like on the Baofangs. Not this Baofeng. No, I'm sorry. This is a battery connector charger, right? It goes in a cradle, and it charges directly to the battery. Other radios, like my FT2DR, has a battery door that you plug in an AC adapter. And also has rear mounts. I generally like to charge with cradles directly to the battery because you got to go through the radio when you're charging this way. Some radios will operate, at least on the receive side, when charging. A lot, though, you can potentially damage them. So when you're being good to your batteries, make sure you don't use whatever way is not okay for your battery and your radio. Don't do that. So don't respond to an emergency net if you have nothing to report or don't know the protocol. That should say, or don't know the protocol. The protocol for how to work with an emergency net is usually specific. It is designed to be a certain way, and if you don't know that particular time to figure it out is not when the net is active. If you don't have emergency traffic, obviously if there is an emergency, call for help. But if it's not if it's just, hey, what are you guys doing over here? That's probably not the time to figure out how the emergency net works. You can likely figure that out after the fact or just Google it if it's not an emergency. Last but not least, don't neglect yourself. I'm not going to pretend like operating a radio is a physically stressful thing. It may be when you're setting up the antenna and you're climbing a tower, whatever. But don't neglect yourself because it can be mentally stressing and you're likely not using the bathroom enough, eating enough, drinking enough, or resting enough if it truly is an emergency. And that is from all the people I've talked to that have been deployed to certain situations. It's extremely stressful, and don't neglect yourself. So those are my slides. So thank you, everybody. The slides are available, will be after the stream at patreon.com/Hashnasi or the Ham Radio Crash Course. I will illuminate the call-ins now. We'll leave this going for a little bit. I don't know if we're going to have anybody call in, but hey, what the heck. If anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and call now. And I will go through the chat here. What do we got? Did I miss anything? Let's see. Oh, hey, Ed CA says, what are your thoughts on the higher power Midland GMRS radios? So I don't have any GMRS radios. That's something that is lacking from my radio, and I'll be honest in saying it. I should get some, and Midland is generally the name in the game. There is an active GMRS repeater system in Southern California that I am able to hit. So, I should look into it, and I will. Sounds like we have a caller. Hey, caller, how you doing? What's your name?
My name is Jesse, and I've got to get to bed so early tonight because I'm probably going to get to transmit from the
That's awesome. Very cool. I like that. What kind of radio are you going to be taking for that? Oh, wait, somebody's saying no audio. Uh-oh. Hold on. Oh, why is that not working? Hold on.
Oh, I got you.
Okay, there you are. There
Oh,
you
it
go.
works now. Okay.
Yeah.
I muted the stream so that it wouldn't mess up. But yeah, just so the chat knows, I'm probably going to get to transmit from a balloon within the next week. I'm going to try to get the pilot to go up to about 11,500 feet and
Mm-hmm.
see how far out I can get.
What antenna are you going to take with you?
Well, right now the best one I have is a Nagoya 771.
Yeah.
But
That'll work.
like I say, I'm going to try to build a Yagi.
Oh,
to
right.
see how
You
much
did say
better I
that.
can do.
Yep. Good.
Yeah.
Good idea on that one. That's going to be great. Yeah.
Yeah, and with next month I'm going down. I've got a deer hunt in a place where I won't even be able to hit a repeater without a Yagi, so I kind of have to get that working.
What kind of Yagi are you going to build? Is it going to be a tape measure?
Yep.
Right on.
Needs to be lightweight and portable.
Very good. Excellent. Well, Jesse, are you a member of the Facebook group or the Discord?
I'm a member of the Discord. I actually don't have Facebook, so.
And that's okay. The reason why I'm asking is when you do the activation, if you have pictures of your antenna or you take a picture of the balloon before going up, post it on the Facebook or the Discord. I think we'd all like to see it.
Oh, I'll take full video of it.
Nice. We'll do that. That sounds amazing. Yeah, we'd love to see that.
Yeah, my hot air balloon pilot doesn't care, and I may not be able to get him to go up to 11.5, just depending on what conditions are, because you kind of steer him by going up and down and hoping the wind blows the right way.
11.5? That seems high and cold.
It's not too bad.
I will very excitedly wait to see that video. So make sure you post it.
Yeah, I will.
Cool. All right. Well, Jesse, thanks for calling in. Did you have another question or anything?
Not right at the moment.
Cool. All right.
So,
well, thanks, buddy.
for taking the call.
See ya.
Welcome.
Hey, caller. What's your name?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on. What's your name?
Oh, wow, that was fast. Hey, Josh, buddy, this is my sister, actually, George Jones, W1LQA.
What was the first name again?
George?
Oh, George.
W1LQA.
Got it. What's up, buddy?
So I have a quick question for you. I don't know, it's probably not super related to the topic, but I have a Kenwood TS40 sat, and I threw up the HF antenna today, and got it all working, and I can receive just fine. However, I bought the radio used, and it will not transmit on sideband. It will transmit on every other mode except for sideband. And I wondered, since I don't know if you have one yet or not, but I was curious if you might know why that might be.
What was the radio again? Sorry, I missed that. It cut out.
It's a TS480 sat.
A TS480 will not transmit on sideband, but it'll transmit on AM and FM?
Yeah, it'll transmit on AM, it'll transmit on FM, it'll transmit on FSK, CW, all the other modes it will transmit. It will put power out. I can get power out on a meter, but it will not transmit on sideband, neither upper nor lower.
And what happens when you transmit? Does the red light come on and just no power output?
Yeah, the red light comes on and nothing. No SWR reading, no power reading, no nothing. And only on sideband.
I can't imagine why it would put power out on any different modes and then not one specific mode. To me, I would think it'd be, if it was broken, they'd all be broken. Right? You know what I mean?
That's what I thought too.
If one went down, they'd all go down. So the fact that one is not, is there some kind of menu option you set?
I'm not sure. I mean, I've looked through them. I even have the manual in front of me, and it doesn't have there's like an option for suppressing the transmit, which will, and the manual says to make sure that that's off. And that doesn't seem to, it is off, but that's the only menu item that I found that seems to relate to anything having to do with that.
Did you Google this by chance?
I thought, I did, and I found one person who asked that on like a groups.io post, I think. And the only answer was that it's the mic, to check the mic connection.
But you said it works on the others.
Right. So I don't know. I know you had some experience with the radio, so when I was watching a live stream here, and I thought, you know what? Let me see if Josh knows. I mean, or if you have any ideas. I'm not sure what else to do. Obviously I got the radio used off of eBay, so if it doesn't work, I might be kind of boned. But I was just curious if you had any ideas.
You might want to contact Kenwood.
Yeah.
You might want to contact them just to see. I mean, this may be an issue that they've experienced before, but the fact that the internet doesn't show anything makes me think that there's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking too, because like I just threw up the antenna today, so I was like, okay, is there something wrong with my antenna setup? Because I tried sideband first.
Right.
And I was messing around with it, and I couldn't get any output. And then for kicks, I tried other modes, and I get full readings on the display and whatnot, but nothing. It just will not work on sideband, not on any band, not nothing.
And by work, you mean transmit. You got to be specific. You mean transmit,
right?
It receives fine.
On any band on either sideband mode.
So someone mentioned doing a hard reset. Have you done that?
I've done that twice. Well, I did the hard reset as suggested in the manual by, it says to hold the AB button and power the radio on, and then you confirm that. I don't know if that's a hard reset or if there's another method to doing that that maybe I could look up. Maybe I should look that up.
Yeah. So everybody that's posting in the comments, I gotta say something to everybody that's posting in the comments. He's saying that the radio works in other modes, meaning he can key up on FM and AM and talk, and it shows power. But when he keys up on one of the single sidebands, it doesn't transmit any power. So it's not the mic. It's likely not necessarily something with the rate. Well, it probably actually is now that you think about it. But yeah, he's talking into the mic in all cases. In AM, FM, it works. In single sideband, either band, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and just for
you are talking into the mic, right? You're yelling into the mic. You're yelling into So there's Yeah, guys, he's talking. Anyway, okay. Someone's saying channel selector wafer. That goes way beyond me. So you might want to look into a channel selecting wafer.
Yeah, I just saw that come up in the comment. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. But I won't hold you up anymore, Josh. I appreciate the convo and the feedback.
All right, George.
And, thanks for everything you do.
Yep.
And we'll talk to you. Take it easy, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
See ya. All right, we got a lot of callers now, so we're going to go to John. Are you on the line, John?
Yeah, I'm right here.
How's it going, buddy? What's up?
Not much. Well, I wanted to talk about, like, my first, I guess you could say, run-in with the Terre Haute Radio Club.
Oh, no.
Like, I was just in it. Like, it wasn't a bad run-in. Don't worry about it.
Well, the way you said that was quite ominous sounding, so thank you for saying that it wasn't bad.
Sorry
okay, go ahead. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Basically, I had just ordered my little Uniden Bearcat scanner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And out of nowhere, I heard the station ID on 147.150.
Okay.
And that was the 2-meter club repeater.
And
I was wondering what. Like, I knew what a repeater did, but I didn't know, like, what it was for. So I looked it up, and apparently came up and said it was amateur radio.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then like 4 months later, or like maybe even 6 months later, I finally get my license.
And now you're well versed in the process, right?
Yep.
Right on. Well, that's I appreciate. Yep. Go ahead.
Got a question, though.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay, so I built my J-pole a few, I'd say, like a month ago.
Okay.
And I can't get it to hit any of the repeaters. Like, I've got it up to a halfway decent height, and, you know...
Okay.
I checked the measurements, like where I put the two leads at and everything.
How did you check it?
Well, I had a calculator, so I checked to see if
that's not going to work. You got to have an SWR meter in the line somewhere.
Well, that's the only way I've got to check.
No, I understand, but that's going to change your ability to get out significantly. So you need to basically read the SWR so that you know if your antenna is resonant for the frequency you're transmitting on. And the only way to do that is, one, a radio that has an SWR meter on it, which a lot of HTs don't, or an SWR meter that you can connect to, or an antenna analyzer. So a club is a good place to reach out and see if you can maybe talk to somebody, get them to help you out.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That club that you were able to hear, you might want to reach out to them and see if they can help you out.
Yeah, the thing about the J-pole is, though, I did all the calculations.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The calculations are not a perfect science. And even when you build it 100% accurate to the dimensions, once you put it up on your roof or whatever structure, based on the composition of the area, the buildings around you, the feed line you have, your mast, all of those things, all will change your SWR and affect things. So you have to do that final nuancing, that walking it in, getting that right SWR. You have to do that with the SWR meter. Pretty much.
Like, how would I go about tuning it for the right SWR?
So you would connect an SWR meter, and you would key up, and if the SWR is really high, you would either lower the feed point on the J-pole or raise it. And you're going to lower it until it gets to the lowest SWR reading possible for that frequency you're on, and then that's going to be it. Does that make sense?
All right, so I guess how you would do that is, like, if you lower it and the SWR rises, you just go the other way?
Correct. Yeah. So if you key up the mic and you talk, and it says 3-to-1 SWR, and then you lower it a little bit and you key up and it says 4-to-1 SWR, that means it's not too low. You got to go up. So you start going up, you start nudging it, just do a little bit, and you go key up, and you're like, hey, it just went from 3 to 2.5. Excellent. Nudge it a little bit more until you get to as close to 1 as possible. And what'll happen is you'll get to a point where it's at the lowest it can be, and then you start moving it up a little bit higher, and then it starts to go back up. That's where that dip is in the antenna mapping, and that's where you're resonant. That's the resonant point. So you lock it back in. There you go.
All right. Sounds good. So, yeah, I'll be in the Discord after chat as usual.
All right, buddy. We'll see you then. I got a couple more callers, so I got to let that go. I'll let you go. I'll see you later.
See ya.
Bye. All right. First-time caller. What's your name?
Name's Dustin, KK6KND. Good evening.
KK6KND?
That is correct. Kilo 6 Kilo November Delta.
Perfect. All right, Dustin. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Very good. What's up?
So it has nothing to do with emergency comms or anything like that.
That's
but,
fine.
But the ISS, are they still transmitting on ham frequencies, or is that kind of a done deal?
As far as like making QSOs?
Yeah.
My understanding is rarely. You might want to back away from the mic a little bit. I can hear you breathing. You're really into this question. I'm just kidding. So they.
Sorry, I got a headset on with a boom mic.
Yeah, I understand. So they generally don't, and it really depends on the astronauts aboard. They do support ARIS, which is the Amateur Radio International Space Station group, and those are the people that go to local schools to make contacts with the astronauts. And it is my understanding that occasionally after those contacts, since the astronaut has everything powered up, they'll stay on after and make a couple QSOs. But again, the pass, right? Your pass is going to change. They may not be able to hit you, so it's pretty scattershot. But they still do the International Space Station SSTV downlinking.
Okay. Cool. I was just wondering. It actually just passed overhead about 5 minutes ago. So.
Did you see it?
I was just curious.
Could you actually see it?
Really? Yeah, you could actually see it. Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, is that the only question you had?
That's it. Cool.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Take it easy.
All right.
Real quick comment for Steve Pluti. Said, I rush home to catch your live streams Friday. Great job. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right, we got, let's see, we've got, where's the other caller? Oh my God, so many callers. Hold on, callers. Go ahead, caller. What's your name?
Name here is Skylar. Call sign November 4, Bravo Radio Bravo.
All right.
First time caller Radio. And actually a fairly new sub.
You might want to mute your speakers in the background.
Oh, hold on.
Skylar, you're going to hear yourself.
Sorry.
No problem.
Yes, I can. Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you very much for everything that you do. And I try to catch the live streams as often as possible. And I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. Great. Excellent. Well, thank you. All right.
You bet.
Well, if you're going to Discord, we'll talk later. All right. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, I am.
All right. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, that was nice. Thank you, Skylar. All right. I got Lee on the line. How's it going, Lee?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Ross.
Hey, Christine. What's up?
Hey, tonight.
What are you guys up to?
She just came over, just chilling. Probably gonna watch a movie. Yeah, we made it to the stream late though. Wish we had seen that. I'm really interested in MCOM.
Yeah, hopefully it was all right. of what you watched, was it okay?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, we just came in during that troubleshooting, but definitely, definitely looking at that hike. Definitely not much of a backpacker, to be honest. So.
Yeah. So it's a decent hike. So it's also at altitude. It's 7,200 feet. So you want to pack light and pack for somewhat cold temperatures. It could be in the lows of 40 is average, but you always want to prepare for colder. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I were to commit to going, I would double check that I'm prepared first.
Oh yeah, definitely a good idea.
One of those. Yeah, it's cool. I guess we just wanted to say hey, what's up, and we'll probably catch you on Discord.
Cool. All right, you'll be over there. All right, we'll catch you over there then.
Bye, hi.
Bye, Lee and Christine. Thanks for calling.
Yep.
Oh, that was nice. Okay, we got another new caller. New caller, what's your name? Caller?
It is a Robert Ellis. I'm a KF5ZDZ.
ZDZ. That's a CW mouthful.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is my first time doing this. This is cool. So.
Right on. What's going on?
Oh, I'm just getting ready for bed. I'm going to work tomorrow, the weekend shift, so that's going to be fun.
That sucks. Yeah.
I just love your channel, and it is. I just love watching it, man. It's awesome. Been into ham radio since 2013. So
cool. Well, thank you for watching. I appreciate that. Did you have a question or anything?
Yeah, I did. I'm going on my first multi-day kayak camping extravaganza up in the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
And and I've got my ST1D. I'm taking that with me with about 5 battery packs.
Okay.
I just was wondering, besides the rubber duck antenna, which is aftermarket, by the way, what would you recommend taking?
What was the radio again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
It's a ST1D Yaesu.
ST1D. Why am I drawing a blank on that? Hold on.
Let's see where it's at. I've already started
ST1D?
You know how it is.
Is it an HT?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
ST1D. Okay, well, I'll assume it's the Abrea antenna?
Yaesu. No, I've just got a...
Oh, FT1D. FT1D. Got it.
Yeah, Frank Thomas 1 Delta.
Frank Thomas 1 Delta. Yes, okay. I had S for some reason. Okay, yeah, so slap an Abrea on that bad boy and go to town. What were you thinking about?
I don't know. I've got like several. I've got a roll-up J-pole from like M7EX or something.
Yeah.
But that's kind of at my QTH.
Mm-hmm.
I just have it up there for if the power goes out and I need to be net control. So
I would use that roll-up J-pole.
You would?
Oh yeah, roll-up J-poles are awesome. Yeah, mount that thing on a tree and go for it.
Right, but I like that Aubrey. That looks pretty freaking sweet, to be honest.
So it's good. Let me. Where are they? Where are they? Hold on. I'm gonna find one of them. Where did I put? Where are my breeze? I don't know where I put them. They're around here somewhere. Okay.
Oh,
well, anyway,
by the way,
that 42-incher though gets real top heavy. Even the 24-incher gets real top heavy on the radios, and those, I don't know. I would say the fold-out J-pole is going to be longer. I would use that for when you get set up. So I'm assuming you're kayak camping, so you're going to camp at some point. You can string that thing up in the tree, work with that. That's a great way to go. Then you don't have to have this 42-inch thing rocking around. And that's going to get you out way further. And well, way further is subjective. It's going to get you out further, and it's not going to be as top-heavy.
Right, it's not going to be so obnoxious.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And my only thoughts were like when I'm in the kayak and I'm not, at camp. That was my only thoughts of having something which is more gain and whatnot, or more, sensitivity.
Right.
And I've been wanting to upgrade from just my regular, diamond clones,
Yeah. So you're not going to get a ton of gain off of an HT antenna no matter what you do unless you actually use a Yagi. You could always just do a backpack tape measure Yagi, go to town with that. You could do that, no problem. But I would go with since you already have the J-pole, you're good enough with using the J-pole. Just use the rubber ducky when you're actually going down the river. Then when you get to shore and you set up camp, throw up that J-pole and you'll be able to operate great with that.
Right, for sure.
As much as I want to spend your money for you, I would love to spend your money for you, but in this case, since you already have the J-pole, I think you use that.
I've got like 20.
Well, then just send it to me.
Funny, my wife.
I'm just kidding.
Funny, my wife doesn't know about it.
Oh no! Well, I don't have her watch the stream.
She doesn't really know that I watch this channel, so I think we're pretty safe.
Okay, good. All right, I got a ton of people backing up, so I'm going to let you go. Hop over on the Discord and we can continue the conversation.
Oh, sweet. How do I do that?
Link is in the description, and in the chat room, the admins are posting the link for Discord. You just click on it. You can join from your phone, join from your computer, whatever. It's a great chat room. We cover everything over there, amateur radio related. It's awesome. We do voice chat and text chat.
So cool. I'm so glad I do this. Very cool deal. Thank you.
All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you later, and thanks for calling.
Yes,
See ya.
sir. Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right, I got James. James, you there, bud?
Hey, Josh, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what? Do you have a call sign? I don't have that down in the system here. What is it?
Yeah, Kilo Mike 6, Zulu Michael India.
Got it.
YouTube channel is 395 Expeditions.
Oh, okay, cool. What's up?
Just wanted some info on the backpacking trip, bro. Is Jerry or Kevin going to join us?
I have told Jerry, and I have to reach out to the rest of the crew and let them know. But it's November 9th and 10th, Pacifico Mountain in the San Gabriels.
November 9th. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a Saturday, right?
Yeah, it's a Saturday. Yeah, that was somewhere we thought that was November 2nd, the week before.
No, yeah, that's not going to work. But yeah, it's
okay.
about 7,200 feet. It's an actual campsite. It's got a pit toilet, and that's about it.
Oh, no worries. Me to the Sierras. There's nothing back there.
Yeah, that's right.
Invalid option.
Whoa.
All right, then, Josh. Have a good one, bro.
All right.
Happy
see ya.
anniversary.
See ya. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Later. Okay. Hey, we got a new caller. What's your name?
Hey there, Josh. I think I've called in once before. It's David, November 0, Bravo, Tango, Charlie.
Bravo, Tango, Charlie. David, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. I just had a quick question for you. I recently moved to South Bend, Indiana, and I'm curious. I cannot really find anybody on the radio around here. Like, I came from Minneapolis, and there was always people on 2 meters, 70 centimeters to talk to on the local repeaters. Like, you could talk to anybody any time of the day.
Yeah.
Around here, if I didn't have DMR, I'd have no one to talk to, and I wouldn't be interested in ham radio at all.
So
you have a good, what's the solution to fix that?
A couple of things. What was that noise? A couple of things is Minneapolis, obviously, you guys have real weather up there. I know it's a little bit... Indiana's not as cold, right, than Minneapolis?
Right.
I think you got more preparedness-type people up in Minneapolis, if I just could make so bold a statement. So they're going to be more active on radio. What's your antenna situation like at the home QTH now?
Right now I'm just using a one of those Magna car antennas on a pizza pan. It's indoors right now, but I can get out about 26, 30 miles, actually, to some of the local repeaters.
Or you can hit the repeaters and they're just dead?
Yeah, I can hit the repeaters, and every one of them is just dead, 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 dead.
Oh. Well, okay. In that case, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, my God, the noise. Stop. Sorry. I'm getting all these notification pop-ups. Sorry.
Oh.
So
I'm
that's
really
a problem.
sorry to hear that, because I'd love to have people to talk to.
I mean, is there a local club?
There is, but no one's really that active. Like, no one, everybody. The only net that really happens around here is the local races net.
Right.
And then before that, no one's on. After that, no one's on. You don't hear anybody all week except for that.
I think I agree with
and
the
I
chat.
can't get HF set up yet.
Why not HF?
I just moved into a house. I live in I'm right now in the basement. That's where that's where I've been stuck by the fiance, and I need to get a drill or something like that and go through the wall or something like that and to see if I can get some antennas up. But I got to get an antenna switch, and I got to get an antenna.
Yeah.
And I got to get the equipment first.
It sounds like you need to get to HF. I would keep using. Yeah. I would keep using those. Keep using that digital, keep using that Pi Star or whatever hotspot you're running, and keep operating that way. I would recommend, if you haven't, go to the clubs and interface with the local hams, and just keep calling out. You know, you can try that, but otherwise, if it were me, I would just go straight to HF. That'd be me.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. It's just sad. I loved having so many people to talk to on VHF, UHF,
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not a new ham in this area. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's
I'm glad
stinks.
I didn't just get my technician license here.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Well, we called out in the chat of asking if anybody's in your area within 146520, which is only going to be like 100 miles around you, so that may not be good. If you haven't, join the Facebook group and the Discord, and you can probably work out a sched with somebody if they're local. Find out who's local to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And yes, I remember your call sign now, BTC like Bitcoin, right?
Yep.
I remember you. All right, I got more callers backing up. I got to answer 2 more, and then we're calling it. So I'm going to let you go.
All right, I'll let you go.
All right, David,
Bye.
thanks. All right, 2 more callers. We're calling it, and then 2 more, and then we're done. All right, new caller. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Paul.
Hi, Paul. Do you got a call sign, or don't worry about it if you don't?
No, I'm actually calling about the emergency use of ham radio for emergency.
Okay.
I understand. Sorry. I understand. I bought a Baofeng BF-F8 HP.
Correct. Yep.
And I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never used the ham radio.
Okay.
I heard that you could use it for emergency, and I bought it for that reason.
Okay.
And I wanted to know if you could give me any advice.
So a couple of things. It's true you can operate on that radio when it is an emergency without a call sign. That is true. But if you just want to use it for everyday communication with other amateur radio operators, you will need to be licensed, right? What that radio does is basically you can transmit on a given frequency and you can listen on a different frequency, if you will. The reason we do that is for walkie-talkie type comms, right, back and forth, or talking to a repeater that's on a mountain, right, and receiving people talking via that repeater, right? It's kind of like a chat room in the sky, if you will. So you have to basically program the radio to be able to use those frequencies. I have a ton of videos.
I was listening to your show.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was listening to your show, and you gave out a thing to get repeaters for my area.
Mm-hmm.
So I did do that. I did put the repeaters onto the Baofeng.
Mm-hmm.
There's a wire you plug in, and it uploads from the computer.
Yeah.
So I did do that.
Okay. So, and how's that going?
Okay.
Are you listening to
do
people?
I have it? Is there a special number that I call, or is there a special? Is there a special number, let's say, that I call for emergencies or anything?
No. And so, the frequency. Did you program the frequencies?
I saw the frequencies. They saw them programmed them, but I don't know how to other than seeing them listed.
In the application or on the radio?
I saw them listed on the application, and I assume they've been downloaded into the radio.
I mean, did you download it, though? Did you use the software to download it to the radio?
Yes. I forgot what the software is called.
Chirp.
But I did do it.
It's called Chirp.
But I eventually will want to get a ham radio. I'm looking at, what's that, ham radio for dummies and stuff like that, but...
Okay. Well, I've got a bunch of videos on how to get your license. I've got a playlist just for getting your technician license and videos on programming them. But so basically, it sounds like you got your radio pretty much programmed. What you're going to need to do is when you're in channel mode, which, again, I can show you really quickly. Here's my radio.
Okay.
It's in frequency mode. If I hit this VFO MR button.
Channel mode.
Here it has channel mode. So now I'm just going to cycle through the channels.
1, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
The channel is going to be whatever frequency it says on the screen there, right? And that frequency is whatever that repeater was that you programmed into the radio. If the repeater's active, then you'll hear something. Have you ever heard anybody talking on it?
Okay.
Have you ever heard anybody talking on it?
No, I'm in New York City and I still have a rubber ducky antenna.
Uh-huh. Well, here, do this.
So I
you got the radio
so
on?
I have the radio on.
Is it in memory mode? Okay, channel mode. Good. Leave it on there. Now, hold down the scan button. There you go. It doesn't sound like it's programmed. It's only It's only going through one. I can only hear one frequency, right? Is it actually? Is it cycling through things?
The numbers changing.
Okay, yeah. Leave it scanning, and if you don't hear anything, it's likely you need a different antenna, or you've got something else wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, you helped me a lot. I've been watching your channel for a while now.
Okay, thank you.
A little bit above my my grade right now, but
you'll
hope to
get
catch
there
up at some point.
Yeah, you'll get there. And check out the videos on getting your technician license. It's not difficult. You just need to put in a little bit time to learn the content. Easy to get started though.
Yeah, okay, good. And do you have any advice for New York City or?
Move. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
A lot of...
for advice for New York City, like how to work radio or how to get your license?
Well, is there groups in New York City? Or is there ham?
Yes, there are a ton, but I don't know which ones to recommend. I can tell you, if you get further along with amateur radio and you ever become interested in Morse code, you have the Long Island CW Club, which is a great group of guys. Great group of people. I recommend them wholly.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, thank you for your time.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it, Paul. Have a good weekend.
Take care. Thank you.
All right. All right. Last caller. What's your name? Oh, last caller. Are you there? Last call and the last caller.
Hello?
Yeah, that's you.
Oh, hi, George.
What's your name?
My name is Noe.
Noe, I got it.
N-O-E. Yeah. My call sign is Kilo Delta 2, Papa Hotel Mike.
Papa Hotel Mike?
Father, yeah.
Got it.
Kilo Delta 2, Papa Hotel Mike.
Got it.
Yeah, I just upgraded to General a few months ago.
Okay.
And I've been working in HF lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a kind of technical question.
Mm-hmm.
In my station, I have a Yaesu FT991A.
Okay.
And my question is regarding the circuit breaker and amps. This radio is supposed to go up to 23 amps.
Okay.
When I'm using it.
Yes.
And the circuit breaker that I have for that circuit or for that room where I have my station is 20 amps.
Okay.
If I make numbers, that radio is goes up to 23 amps. I have a laptop, I have my light, I have chargers and many devices.
Mm-hmm.
What do you suggest that I should do? Should I make or run a dedicated a power outlet for 30 amps or so?
No. So remember, you're going to be using that's 20 amps DC. You're going to use a power supply, right? You got a power supply?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
so I've got a I believe it's 20 watt, and I'm running my radio power supply. I'm running this computer. I'm running multiple strip plugs with things all plugged into it on that same circuit, and it's fine. Are you having problems tripping the breaker?
No, not really. But when I see the circuit breaker that is 20 amps,
yeah,
and the radio says that is 23 amps itself. On top of that, I have chargers, computers, and all the stuff. So that's why I was kind of worried about. That's why I'm asking.
If you're using a power supply, you're using an AC to DC power supply, you're fine.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent. Thank you. It has been an honor to talk to you.
Oh, well, thank you for calling in. Give it a shot. Do you have a power supply yet? Do you have a power
Yes,
supply?
I have. Yes, I have power supply. I've been working NHF since May.
Oh, so it's working.
And by the way, yes.
Okay.
And
well,
I had to thank you. I had to say thank you to you because you encouraged me to take the technician test.
Right.
And then upgrade to general.
Well, congratulations. Very good. I congratulate you on your accomplishment. Thank you for sticking to it and moving up. That's good. We need more hams. That's why we're doing this. That's why I'm doing this. So
yeah. By the way, the fellow that was talking to you before me, he lives in New York. I'm calling from New York too.
Oh.
There are a lot of clubs around here, and they are very helpful.
A lot of clubs.
Yeah, a lot of clubs. So,
well, I'm assuming New York's a big place. There's got to be a lot of clubs.
Yeah.
I know I did a talk via Skype to a club in Jersey, and that was fun.
Yeah, that's what I go to Jersey because it's kind of closer to my QPH.
Mm-hmm.
And very good area for radio.
Well, very good. All right. Well, you're the final caller. No, it's Noi.
Noi.
Noi. Okay, good. I got it. All right. Well, thank you for calling in. I appreciate the kind words, and I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. All right. So I am going to head off to Discord to do the after chat. I hope you join me over there. The after chat is just like it sounds. We hop on Discord. It's a large voice chat system. We're trying to make it break. We've got 70 people in there last week and the week before. So join us over there. It's a lot of fun. But before I do that, I got to give a big thank you to the patrons. This was the patron picks episode, and if it wasn't for the patrons, we wouldn't be able to do much of what we're doing, and I would not be able to do this. So I thank you so much for all the support, guys. So here we go. It's getting long, man. Chris Ebert, Carrie Blackwell, Jason Brown, Jason Siebert, David Dansero, Danny Miller, Wesley Magyar, Barbara Schrock, Will Ladd, Franklin Lewis, Brad Snyder. I got to flip the page here really quick. Okay, good. Dennis Dunderdale, Garrett Larson, Jonathan Franson, 86 DM Dennis, The Wyoming Ham, Randall Hinsley, Evan Hartman, who's on vacation, slacking on his admin duties. Just kidding. Dennis Mickelson, George Gaini, Andy, Kenny Miyamoto, Ron Thorson, Ken Hall, Corey Vuelta, Mr. Mode, David Mayers, Devin B. Hedge, Mark Chase, Raymond Cracker, Geraldo Kelso, Rob, K8BCR, Lee Harrell, Michael Kearney, Steve Baker, Mark Fields, Corey Sheldon, Brad Nadow, Stephen Hunt, Brian Nosowitz, Connor Carroll, Mike Marusin, Mike Heerly, Gerald, I think it's Gerald Carpenter. Did I screw that up? And the Brew Crew, of course, the Brew Crew. That's a big cheers for the Brew Crew sip there. But there's more now. Ian Webb, Sean Bales, James Barnett, and it is Dragicevic. I hope I said that right. Dragicevic. Try not to stress the T so much. Dragicevic. Dragicevic. Okay. Thank you. Chad Newton, Rob, well, shoot, now I gotta, how do you say, is it Zargs? Sorry, I'm horrible. And John Molnar, I've got to message you too now. Nathan Long says, Dat support, your help and patience are admirable. Thank you, I appreciate it. Anyways, that's gonna do it. I'm gonna go to the restroom and then I'm hopping over on Discord. So I hope you join us, won't you? All right, that's it. I'm Josh KI6NAZ. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and give me a